So welcome to the Rocking Online Visibility Summit. I'm Cindy J, the Visibility Wiz, and your host. Over the course of 4 days, I'm interviewing 32 top experts who are sharing their best tips and strategies for you to build your own fun and profitable business and get more visibility, influence, and profits. So we have Jill Hope with us. And Jill's a wealth embodiment coach for mompreneurs as a writer, inspirational speaker, and the founder of I Shine. And I thought it was so cute whenever Bridget just mentioned shine because I knew that Jill is I Shine. And after a successful 22-year corporate career, Jill made the leap into entrepreneurship to pursue her passion of empowering women to embody their authentic voice, own and express their unique gifts, and make more money than they ever imagined possible doing purpose-based work that they love. And Jill supports mompreneurs in her signature program, Wealthy Mompreneur Club. Welcome, Jill. It's a pleasure to have you. You're muted.
There we go. Thank you, Cindy, so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with everybody.
Okay, yes, definitely our pleasure. And I know we're going to be speaking about become a high-end sales money magnet. I
Yes.
absolutely love that topic. To start with, can you share a little bit with us how this became your niche? Why are you helping mompreneurs? And even what is a high-end sales money magnet? Why is that your passion?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a little bit of a long story, so I'm going to make it as short as possible here. I will just give you the Cliff Notes version. But I started in the online business world about 15 years ago, and I was in a different business altogether. I was helping parents to build confidence and self-esteem in their kids. And from the outside, I had a lot of success. I mean, I would get paid well to speak. I was like a top parent university speaker for this really big, well-known parent community in Chicago. And I did a lot of the online stuff. And so I got myself out there. And so looking at me, you would have thought like I had a successful business. And I did, in terms of, I had a lot of eyes on what I was doing. I had a lot of attention. I was able to fill my classes and such. But the problem was that financially, at the end of the day, I was just getting by. Like I was barely keeping ahead of, being able to pay my business expenses, and then being able to pay my family expenses and my lifestyle expenses. And it wasn't happening for me. And it got to the point where it was kind of a roller coaster. One month I'd think, okay, maybe this is working because maybe I sold out a class or something. But then the next month or two, or even three, sometimes I had no income coming in. And I was like, this is not working for me, because I had a really successful corporate career, and I kind of put my family at risk a little bit to make this leap and really follow my heart. And so I had a lot of guilt. I had a lot of shame around that because it really wasn't working the way I promised my family that it would. And so finally, after having this humiliating experience of, I was invited to go out for coffee with some of the moms from my son's school, and I literally could not scrape together, $3 to go for a cup of coffee. And I remember digging through my couch cushions and looking through old handbags just to have enough so that I didn't have to say no, and that I could, meet with these ladies. And it was, after that happened, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm done. And I remember I just broke down, because that wasn't the first time I was searching for change like that, mind you. So I completely broke down. I'm like, I just can't do it anymore. And I was sitting in a corner, and I was like a heap on the floor. And my son happened to see me, and he was probably about, I want to say he was around 10 at the time. And, he was always my baby, right? Like really, we still do have a very close relationship, but he saw me in the corner crying, and he ran up to me and he's like, "Mommy, what is wrong?" And I'm like, "Oh, honey, I'm fine, but I've decided I have to quit my business." And he looked at me and he said, "Mommy, no, you can't quit. You have worked so hard." And in that moment, just looking at his little face, and it still brings tears to my eyes when I think about it, looking at his little face, and I thought, oh my gosh, if I quit this now, this thing that is truly my dream and my passion, what message am I sending to him? And I thought, I cannot let this little boy down. I've got to show him that if you have a passion in your heart, if you feel like you know what your purpose is, you can create success with it. So in that moment, I'm like, okay, I gotta figure this out. So I put my family in even more risk, but I was investing in myself, and I took some money out of the retirement account to leverage, figuring this thing out. And so I hired a business coach who is well known for the whole sales thing. And he gave me a challenge to make 100 phone calls. And the 100 phone calls were not like, okay, you call, and then if nobody answers, you mark that down as a call. No, I had to speak to 100 people on the phone. Okay. And so I made my little log, and because I paid this guy a lot of money. So I'm like, I'm not backing out on this, even though it's terrified me so much to do this. I thought, I got to do it. So I had my log, and I'm like marking off my hundreds, and I did get 100 people on the phone over a month. I did it over a month. And guess how many sales I got? Put it in the chat. I want to see what people think. Out of 100 calls, just put a number in there. How many yeses do you think I got? Cindy said 18. Erlene said 10. Good guesses. 4, said Pamela. Yeah. Any other guesses out there? How many did I get? 8, said Al. Tammy said 6. Good guesses. Well, let me show you how many I got. 0. 0, 0, 0. Okay. So, so then I was recording some of these calls with permission, of course, by the people. And so that he could listen back and he could tell me and coach me, like, what am I doing wrong? And he's like, I don't know how to tell you this, Jill. He's like, because you're not bad. Like, you're really not bad. He said, people way worse than you, though, make sales on 100 calls. And so, and this is what he told me. He said, so the problem is you have the wrong people on your list. That's what he told me. You have the wrong people on your list. I didn't really like that idea. I thought, I'm sure there's some truth to it. This is a very wise coach. So I had to look at that, but intuitively, like deep down in my heart, I knew there was something within me, not something about me inherently wrong, but there was something within me that was not allowing me to fully shine, right? And to really sell the value of what I was here to share with people. And so that took me on a journey where, and it's kind of where I am now and how I found the high-end sales, because I decided in that moment that I need to know me better, because I have a blind spot here and I don't know what it is. And it was so interesting because I sat after that point with one question, and it literally changed everything for me. Anyone want to know what that question was? Yeah, we want to know? Okay. The question was, what does Jill want? What does Jill want? And I literally asked myself nothing other than, what does Jill want? From the time I get up in the morning, when does Jill want to brush her teeth? What would Jill like to eat today? When does Jill want to work on her business? Everything was tuning into that place within me that is connected to my higher self, that desire place. Because I know that desire is the starting point for everything that we want to bring into our lives. We've got to be connected to our desires. And I know this happens for all people, but in terms of women, I'm a woman, so I can really speak to my experience as a woman, that women are not encouraged to listen to our desires or to make them a priority in our lives, or to be so bold as to invest to create our desires, right? We are supposed to do everything for everybody else. And then if there's anything left at the end of the day, we can then, maybe, if we're not exhausted and tired, maybe we can think about ourselves a little. So this thing about desire was really what opened the door to me getting so in touch with my authentic voice that I was able to see my path, which became this high-end sales. So.
Yeah, I absolutely love this story. I totally believe, like, the first thing we all have to do is to slide because if we don't decide, we're never going to do anything. If we're interested, we're not going to take action. When we decide, we take whatever actions needed. So when your son, and I love that story, it's like it's so heartwarming because I can picture it just from similar incidents in my life with my son. But he had so much faith in you and so much love, and you had so much love for him. And it was at that point in time that you actually decided that you were going to be successful in business. You didn't know how, but you knew you were going to do it. And
Exactly.
then whenever you started saying, what does Jill want? Your desires and everything became clearer. So I love that story. Thank you for sharing it with us. Um, and so why do, so many women too struggle to make money in their business?
Yeah, well, partly because of, one of the reasons is because of what I just said is that, historically, culturally, women, like, it's not supposed to be about what we want. We're supposed to help other people have what they want, our children, our partners, like, we're supposed to think about everybody else. It's kind of our role, right? Or has been. And so we're kind of made to feel in a way like almost guilty if we ever think of putting ourselves first or our desires even on that list. So and the other thing is that, and this is, I think, is universal for most people, is we've kind of been conditioned with this message that be happy with what you have. It's good, it's good to get your needs met, but you don't need to have everything you want. Just have what you need, right? And I remember my dad giving me this, it was a beautiful little paragraph, little quote. But fundamentally, I just didn't agree with it. And I know his heart was so pure when he gave it to me, but he's like, all I wish for you is that you have everything that you need. It's something like that, but said more poetically. And I'm like, yeah, but I've kind of all like, unless you're in a situation, in a country where that's not common, or you're in a part of our country where it's not common to have your needs met on a regular basis, the food and a roof over your heads. Many of us probably listening to this call have the basic essentials covered, right? But it's being able to have more than enough to where your cup is overflowing. That's the part that's kind of like made to not be okay. And I think, just when it comes to women specifically, it's even more not okay because of what I said earlier. We need to focus on everyone else. The other thing is that what I think is probably more common for women than men, I could be wrong about that, but that's what I see a lot, is that we can maybe identify our desires. Like we maybe can get in touch with them. I mean, many women don't even know what they want, right? That was part of my problem. I was acting based on everyone else's, what I thought other people thought I should have, or what would look good to have, things like that. But was it really what I wanted? I needed to get in touch with that. But the other part of it is that a lot of women out there, especially if you're a driven woman, you know what you want. But then the question is, do you believe it's possible for you to have that? Number one. And have you decided that you're actually going to have it? Cindy, you said that I made a powerful decision in that moment, and you're absolutely right. And we have to decide that I'm going to create that for myself. Just wanting it and hoping for it and wishing it has no energy to create it and to bring those opportunities to you that will help you create it.
Love that. Thank you. And what factors make us magnetic to money?
Well, one of the things that I noticed, and this was the whole part of my journey, is when I started to tune into what does Jill want? And I started to listen to myself, because the thing was that, like, I will say this, I'm a really good coach. And I get told that all the time, because I think part of the reason is I'm really good at listening, not just listening to what somebody says, but listening and picking up what's going on in between the words, right? Like what's not being said and in the energy of the person. So it's like, I don't know, I have this ability, I don't know if it's an intuitive ability or what, but to pull out the things people aren't saying, or the real stuff behind what they are saying. So I was really good at doing that for other people, and I still am. but I just wasn't listening to myself at all. And so when I started listening to what does Jill want, and allowing myself to actually see what it is and then to say yes to it, I started to become more, I mean, I noticed it, like people were seeking me out. I was getting people in my inbox saying, hey, I'd really like to coach with you. And like when I didn't advertise, anything like that, I was just sharing my heart, and because stuff I was really in tune with, what I was in tune with in the moment, I was sharing it. And so randomly people would start reaching out. I'd get invited on things like this. And it was just because I was listening to what I was hearing within myself, finally, for maybe the first time in my life. And I was also acting on it. I was taking steps, even if I didn't really know what was going to happen if I took that step, even if I wasn't sure that it was really my voice that I was following, but I was willing to do it. So the more that you listen to the voices within you and you say yes to them, Bridget was teaching us all about, how to say no and yes to ourselves. You say yes to them and you risk, because it is a risk. We have to take the risks to create something that we want that we don't currently have. As you take those risks, that is what creates this attraction power, right? We're listening, we're moving, we're moving energy in a certain direction. You become very magnetic. So that's the start of that answer. I can share more if you'd like.
Okay. No, it's definitely, let's go ahead and move on a little bit, but it's definitely, whenever we're aligned, the opportunities start coming, we start seeing them. They're there the whole time, but we can't see them, until we get aligned with what it is we want. I always say, if you want a Cadillac, nobody's going to sell you a Honda. Nobody goes out there just saying, hey, I just want a car. They have like these specific things they want. We don't ask ourselves that question enough. What do we want? So I love the what does Jill want, because that puts you in alignment. And so next is, what are some of the most common blocks you see that are stopping the flow of money?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So one of the big things I discovered, and I kind of discovered this through a lot of my clients, right? Because even though I was doing it myself, I wasn't super aware of it. And I don't think a lot of people are, but like I said, I can see it. And when I share it with you, you're going to know what I'm talking about. So one of the biggest ways that we block ourselves is that we're listening to stuff all the time. I mean, you can't not be listening. I mean, you've got a dialogue going on in your head 24/7, right? Like we all have that. And sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's not so positive. But one of the things I've noticed is that women are, not just women, I mean, I think we all do this, is when you want something and you get excited about it and you say yes to it and you're all gung-ho and you start taking some action, trying to create this thing. And if it doesn't go the way that you want, right? How many people have done something where you got so excited about it and you put it out there and then it kind of flopped? Has anyone had that experience? Like, I've had it a million times, right? And the problem is that this is one of the mistakes, is that we then look at that evidence and we make it mean something, right? And do we make it mean, oh, I'm on the right path? Probably not. We make it mean things like, well, I knew that I don't have what it takes, or see, I am not worthy enough to have this, or I'm not good enough, or everyone outside of me does it better. Who am I to think that I could do this? Who am I to think I have success? So those voices we hear that are not supporting us, they get really loud when things like that happen. And if we listen to that voice, which we usually do, then we slow down, to take a U-turn that may not be the right U-turn, because maybe you just need to make a little tweak and keep going. And so we don't make good decisions at that point, and it takes us off the path. Okay, so that's one of the things.
I love that.
More?
Yeah, you can give us another one or two blocks.
All right, let's see. So another block would be just, and I see all these things a lot, right? Is we say we really, really want something, right? Like I've had people tell me, Jill, I know exactly what I want. I've been out there screaming it to the universe that this is what I want. So like I'm connected to it. I'm in alignment with it, right? Like I'm feeling it. I'm vibing it. I look at pictures that put me in that feeling place of it. And yet if you don't look at the deeper why, so this is one of the blocks, we're not getting connected to the deeper why of why we want that thing, right? So one of the things I discovered about myself was that, this is going to sound, and I get it, this is going to sound, I'm going to be really transparent with all of you for a minute, okay? I hope that's okay. One of the big reasons why I left my corporate job to begin with, to go down this journey, apart from the fact that I was tired of giving my time and treasure to make rich people richer and not really help anybody, which was a big issue for me, was that I wanted to be able to live in my dream home. And my dream home cost like $20 million, okay? I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know it cost that much at the time. But I had this vision in my mind of this dream home. And even with my corporate salary, because there was only so high I was going to be able to get even in that position, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. And I knew that. And so I thought, I got to make my own money. I want to get my gifts out there. And that is, I know then the sky is unlimited for me money wise. And so that's the way I'm going to do it. And here's what I've discovered. And this is why I'm talking about the why underneath your vision. I have a list, and every year I write down everything all my goals that I want for the year. And then I look at the previous year and I check off everything that I accomplished. And usually I accomplished a whole boatload of those things, right? And sometimes they take a couple of years. But one of the things I noticed, and it took me like 5 years before I even caught this, I was never writing my dream home on my list. I never wrote it down. You know why? Because I was looking at my to-do, like my goals for the year. And I never really believed that I could have my dream home within a 12-month time period. So I wouldn't actually write it down. So then I had to look at, well, Jill, why have you not written that down? This has been a goal of yours forever. Why would you just not write it down? And then when I started asking questions about this, I started to feel sick to my stomach. And I'm like, oh my God, something deep inside me thinks it's wrong for me to want this house. I was a little embarrassed to tell you right now that that's why I left, right? There's still a little pinch of it. As long as we don't fully buy into the why of why we want what we want, you're not going to create it. You're not going to create it. So I encourage everyone, if you know what you want, what I invite you to do is ask yourself 5 times, why do I want that? And write it down. And whatever comes up as your answer, look at that answer and say, and why? Why do I want that? And then you look at that answer and you ask yourself again, and why do I want that? We call it the 5 whys. Sometimes you don't get to 5. Sometimes you might go to 6. You stop when it becomes absurd, like where it just doesn't make sense anymore, right? To ask why. Do you want to know what my deeper why was for getting my dream home? Does anybody want to know that? Yeah.
Yes.
What I discovered was that my spirit desires to be, it wants to be free. My spirit wants to be free. My spirit wants to feel extremely expanded. I want spaciousness. And so my higher self, my spirit was longing to be in a place that feels spacious and beautiful, and where I feel like I can do everything from this space. That it may not make logical sense, but this is what I got to. And when I discovered that, I'm like, oh, so I'm not just a greedy, you know what? It's about freeing my spirit. That's how my higher self is connecting this home with this. So knowing that now, which I only recently came upon, I can actually really claim what I want and say yes to it fully. And now like expand my business and expand my life, even without having the house, because now I know what the thing is. And I also know the house will just come in when it's ready, now that I've connected to this deeper why.
Mhm.
Man, I
You
went
know,
off on that there.
you're just about like with the dream house. On the first of every year, I write a letter to my future self. I write letters if I'm my future self talking about that year. So it's like today's January 1st, 2020, 5, and 2024 was great and all this stuff happened. So for years, I was always talking about selling my house that I lived in and moving to Prescott, Arizona. And in 2021, I wrote it a little bit different, but I had this belief because my husband has a cockatoo, a bird. It's a big, parrot bird. And we couldn't fix up the house with her in it because it would kill her. So I had this belief that I had to find a place for us to live for X amount of months, for us to be able to fix up the house and sell it because nobody would buy it as is, because we lived there for so many years. It needed a little bit of TLC. And so on 2021, first year I wrote, oh, from my 2022 perspective, I go, 2021 was great. We found a place that we rented in Prescott, and then we fixed up the house and we sold it within 3 weeks, and just everything was great. And so then along comes May, and this house flipper, because we were looking for a place to rent that we liked, and this house flipper just came by our house and offered me the exact dollar amount that I had written, like net profit. So I got to sell the house as is, make what I want, and it was so much easier than what I kept telling myself it was supposed to be. And I think sometimes we tell ourselves like it has to be a certain way. And so, because still in that belief that I had to fix up the house and sell it. And then whenever I'm always like, yeah, I sold my house when it wasn't for sale for the exact amount I wanted, which was really cool. And it's sort of the
That's
similar. It's like
awesome.
knowing, what you want, because I knew what I wanted, but I was blocking myself because of the how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the how. Oh my God. Cindy, I'm so glad you said that, because that is so sneaky. Actually, this happened to me not that long ago too. I had done something and I had a real expectation of what the results needed to look like. Like I had an end game with it. And so I was following this path, and I was, doing this program, or I can't remember, I don't remember exactly the details I was doing, but I remember like being really committed to it and really committed to the goal. And I didn't make that goal. And I remember feeling so disappointed, and I was like, what is wrong? And then it dawned on me that, Jill, just because it didn't happen through this does not mean, same thing, does not mean it's not meant to happen. But we take ourselves out of the game at that point, because the how we thought it was going to come about didn't pan out. So we take ourselves out. And so that's something we want to catch is, am I committed to the how, or am I committed to the vision of what I want?
And that's a
good
great
question to ask
question. Am
yourself.
I committed to the how or the vision? Because whenever you're committed to the vision, there's miraculous things start happening.
Yes. Yes.
I love that. And lastly, what can we do to become more magnetic to the money that we desire?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing, I mean, there's so many, but the biggest thing is, and this is, I think this hits women more than men, honestly, is really knowing what your voice is within, your decision-making process. Because, if you're honest with yourself, and this takes a little awareness, a little self-awareness, but I have a hunch that if you're on this call, you probably have some level of self-awareness, right? It's an awareness level of, when you make a decision, like, is that the decision that you yourself would be making, or are you making the practical decision, or the decision that your parents would have had you make, or the decision that you think will make your spouse happy? Or because it's going back to this listening to yourself. If you only do one thing to become more magnetic to what you want, you have all the faculties within you to get whatever you want and to be massively magnetic to anything in life, money, success, whatever you want. But you must be connected to it. And there's 5 voices that I highly stand for women getting connected to if they want to be like fully in their power to be able to call in what they want. Do you want me to run through those real quick? Do we have
Yes,
time?
please.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The first one we've been talking about a whole lot, which is the voice of desire. I mean, nothing happens without it. So you've got to be connected with your voice of desire. We talked about that first question, what does Jill want, right? Put your name in there and really knowing the why underneath it. The second voice is the voice of intuition. Once you know what you want, then it's like we need to take those powerful steps, right? So within the voice of desire, you're making a commitment and a decision to yourself that you're going to create that, but now you need to move forward. How do you know what to do? There's so many programs out there, right? There's so many great things like these summits. How do we know who to listen to, what to listen to? Start by listening to your voice of intuition. Now, some people say, Jill, I'm not intuitive. To which I say, everybody's intuitive. It's just that we have different levels of being open to hearing that voice. So voice of intuition. And I love to teach people how to do that. It's very, very easy. Mm-hmm. Next voice, number 3, is voice of self-acceptance. We didn't even talk about this whole bucket yet, but there's so many blocks just in this voice. This is around needing people to like you, not really fully owning your value, not like all the stuff around, am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Can I really do this? Does anybody want my stuff? Can I really charge $20,000 for this? This is where the high-end sales piece comes in, because if you're not owning your value and you're not fully in your self-acceptance, where like you just know you're worthy because you're here and that gives you the worthiness that you need, you're not going to be able to charge the prices that you're worthy of receiving. Like you just won't be able to. You won't be able to say that to somebody and have a yes back. Okay, so that's a whole another area that we for another time, right? And then the fourth one is the voice of trust. And there's 2 levels of this. This is trusting yourself. Okay, so many times why are people not successful in programs when they sign up for programs? 9 times out of 10, it's not the program. 9 times out of 10, we don't do what we say we're going to do when we sign up for something. You're all excited, you get into it, and then little by little, you chip away at your, like that initial excitement about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to create success with it. And we don't actually back ourselves up and do the thing we said we were going to do. And every time you don't do something that you say you're going to do, you chip away a little bit at your self-esteem and your self-worth. So we have to be really careful and kind of retrain ourselves to trust ourselves again. The other level of trust is the trusting God source universe, whatever you deem to be that higher intelligence, because you're not here to do this alone. You have a partner in the universe that has all the power and is the source to bring you what you want. That's where the how comes from. You just need to know what you want, and then you need to trust and you need to take steps. But we don't want to not include the source, because the source is the source, right? The source is not the client. It's not the summit appearance. It's none of those things. The source is that higher intelligence, whatever that is to you. And then the 5th voice is the voice of money, which sounds like kind of like weird, like how does that one fit in here? But we have a whole ball of thoughts and beliefs around money. Many of them are limiting. And you have the ability, you have the blueprint to make a lot of money in a way that is unique to your soul. But and your blueprint has both empowered and disempowered aspects to it, though. So if you're not aware of what your blueprint is, you may be acting out the disempowered aspects of your blueprint, which is keeping you broke or in debt or not making the money that you really want. So when I work with someone on something like that, we make them aware of what their blueprint is, and then we work on overcoming the limitations and then empowering the strengths. And when you shift that balance, then money becomes so much easier. So it's those 5 voices that they're all part of us, we get in tune with them. Like, you are a magnet. You are a magnet to the things that you want.
I absolutely love that. And I know that you have a gift for Saul. Nicole will put the link inside of the chat. Can you share what it is and what they'll get? It's the Embody the Energy of High-End Sales checklist.
Yeah. So, okay. So that one is available, but we don't have the link for it ready right now. So I'm going to give you another link. And when you go and grab this other thing, or you can just reach out to me at
So we lost you.
Jill at iShineKids.well.
We lost you.
But if you want
we can reach you at what?
If you want,
we lost you for a second.
Jill at iShineWealth.com is my email address. Okay. That, so you can reach me at that email address, Jill at iShineWealth.com. And then I can send you the PDF because we don't have it linked up yet. But the gift that is available right now for you, if you'd like it, and it's right along with what we've been talking about, is 8 reasons why you haven't yet made 6 figures. Now, if you've made 6 figures, it's why are you still stuck, right? Like, if let's say that you can't get past the financial plateau. There are 8 things that almost universally in every person I work with, when they're not making the money they want, there's one or more of these 8 things. So that's at iShineWealth.com/8 reasons. And it is a ebook that I wrote, as well as a companion video that lays out what these 8 things are. This is going to bring a lot of awareness to what is making the decisions for you and how much you're in control of that. And then, so if you opt in for that, I will send you the PDF of the high-end sales blueprint that is super powerful for really stepping into the high-end sales conversation and being able to charge those high prices. So,
okay. Yes, I apologize. I remember you sent me an email about the shift change and I forgot to change it.
That's okay. I do have the PDF available though, and I can just whip it out to anyone who wants it. Like, it's
okay. Yeah. So just send her an email. She'll send it to you and just ask her for the checklist, please. And other than that, you'll definitely want to grab that the other gift from her so you can move forward. And Nicole's going to come on with a wheel of names, and Jill's offering a Tune Your Mind to Wealth 21 Days to More Clients, Freedom, and Money Flow as a gift to one of our attendees. So Nicole can hop on, and she was so good. She had that email in there, I think, just before I did.
Okay, here we go.
Dr. Almina, congratulations. I'm sure you're here, right, Dr. Almina? Tell me you're here.
I'm here.
Yes.
Yay! Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Dr. Almina, what I need you to do is in the chat, send a private message to Jill with your email, and Jill will make sure that you get the gift.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. Congratulations. Congratulations. Does anybody we have 5 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions for Jill? You can either speak or you can raise your hand. Questions? You guys are already, go ahead.
Yeah, if we're interested in working with you or reviewing kind of your offerings, what's the best site for that, or the best way to contact you?
Yeah, well, there's 2 things you can do. You can reach out to me directly at Jill at iShineWealth.com. Okay. And the second way is you can, if you want to request a breakthrough session, and we can talk about like what's going on for you, what do you want, what do you desire, what's not working for you, and we can discuss options. I can give you some recommendations. You can go to iShineWealth.com/breakthrough, and you can schedule a time with me. So either way is fine, and I'd love to chat more with anybody who's interested.
Mhm.
Great question.
What
Thank
was
you.
that? Oh, is that something you just put? I'm like, what's the link Nicole put in there? I guess it's what you just said. She's quick.
Yeah.
All righty. So thank you so very, very much for being our guest today. Jill, do you have any last final words that you'd like to leave us with?
Well, yeah, I would just love to say that. Well, first of all, thank you so much for everyone being here and listening today. And I would just like to say that, you know, I never could have believed that I could charge the prices that I do and have a ton of happy clients. Like when I mean, I had so many people, but I just wasn't making money before. And you know, the struggle, I think, is just a sign that there's something deeper within you that you haven't brought out of yourself yet. You know, we have so many riches within. So, you know, the more that you can start to reconnect with who you really are and share from that place, the more money you're going to make and the more people you're going to help. And that's really why we're doing this, right? As a heart-centered entrepreneur. So yeah, you got this. Just, it's all within. It's all within.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jill, again. And big hugs to you. It's always fun speaking with you. So I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Thanks so much. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.